Alright, welcome back to WMMA Scene Now with your host Chuck Stevenson, and welcome to episode number 65 of the WMMA Scene Report, our weekly show where we go over everything that's going on within the world of the women's divisions of mixed martial arts. Coming up later tonight, Amanda Nunes, possibly talking retirement. But first, let's start where we always do with this past weekend's results. So one big event this past weekend, UFC Fight Night. I versus Calvillo, a couple ladies fights there. First up, at bantamweight, Julia Avila defeated Gina Mazzani via TKO with a knee to the body and punches 22 seconds of the first round. Avila climbed to 8-1. Mazzani fell to 6-4. I did a combination review of this and the next fight in our own video. You can go check that out. So moving on to the next fight. At flyweight, Maria Agapova, successful UFC debut, defeated Hannah Cifers via submission due to rear naked choke. 2 minutes 42 seconds of the first round. Agapova climbed to 9-1. Cifers fell to 10-6. And then finally in the main event, at flyweight, Cynthia Calvillo, successful flyweight debut, defeated Jessica Ai via unanimous decision. Calvillo climbed to 9-1. Ai fell to 15-8. I did a separate review on this that you can please feel free to go check out. Not an eventful fight in the slightest. I was kind of bored with it myself. So that is it for this past weekend's fights. So let's move on ahead into the news. So almost everything is UFC related. And then I woke up this morning and got some news Deep Jewels related. So at least a little bit of variety in there. All right, so first up, for UFC's July 11th card in Abu Dhabi, they announced a bantamweight fight between Vanessa Milo and Carol Hossa. Carol Hossa, I believe, was the one that was supposed to fight Julia Avila like 4 different times, and it kept getting canceled. And then on August 15th, UFC announced a strawweight bout between Felice Herrig and Verna Jandiroba. That's going to be a tough return fight for Felice Herrig. She's been out almost 2 years due to knee surgery. And then on August 29th, Jiyeon Kim versus Alexa Grasso at flyweight, and that's a fight rescheduled from June 27th. That fight was supposed to go down next weekend. It got rescheduled due to probably travel restrictions. And then for July 15th at Yas Island in Abu Dhabi, a flyweight bout between Liana Jojua, moving down from bantamweight to flyweight, taking on Diana Belpita. I believe that's Belpita's second UFC fight. She hasn't fought in a while either. And then on August 1st, UFC scheduled a bantamweight fight between Ketlin Vieira and Yana Kunitskaya. So both of those two are coming off hard KO or TKO losses. Vieira coming off a knockout loss to Reni Aldana. Kunitskaya coming off I believe a TKO loss to Aspen Ladd. Both are going to be looking to get back into that win column. And then on August 8th, UFC scheduled a bantamweight fight between Nico Montano and Julia Avila. Julia Avila making a somewhat quick return there. Just fought this past weekend. Little less than 2 months later, she'll be taking on the former flyweight champion Nico Montano. So should make for an interesting fight. Those two actually fought before, earlier in their careers, and I believe Avila came away with a unanimous decision win. And then finally in UFC news, the UFC flyweight bout between Jennifer Maia and Viviane Araújo has been rescheduled from June 27th to August 1st due to COVID-19 related travel restrictions. So a little more than a month apart now. Hopefully the two fighters don't overtrain in the meantime, because that sucks when you see fighters overtrain. And then finally, we move all the way over to Japan for some Deep Jewels news. Woke up, saw this on Twitter, so at least it's something besides UFC. Deep Jewels 29, July 23rd in Tokyo, announced 3 more fights, all of them at 49 kilograms or less. First up, you have Hikaru Ono, 5-3, taking on Rion Noda, 1-0. Now, both of those two were scheduled to fight on this card back in May against different opponents. Now they're facing each other. And then the next 2 fights are basically just reschedules from the May date. Sakura Mori, 2-0, taking on Maya Mayu Kawanishi making her debut. And then you have Pan Hui, 5-5, taking on Otoa Nagao, who is 2-2. So that makes 4 fights now in total for Deep Jewels 29 on July 23rd at Shinjuku Face in Tokyo. So that is it for the news. So let's move into the rankings updates. So again, nothing new for One Championship. They're not putting on any events right now. UFC though, a lot of moves. First up, bantamweight. No changes at bantamweight. However, strawweight and flyweight has a lot of moves. So strawweight, Cynthia Calvillo is no longer in the strawweight division. She's been removed from those rankings. Yan Xiaonan, Tisha Torres, and Alexa Grasso all moved up 1 spot. Yan is at now number 10. Torres at 11 and Grasso at 12. Angela Hill, previously unranked, moves into the number 13 spot. I don't know why they needed to wait for Cynthia Calvillo to move to put her in, but they did. So, and then Amanda Hebus moves up 1 spot from 15 to 14, and Felice Herrig moves down from 14 to 15. Only person moving down there, Felice Herrig. Then at flyweight, Cynthia Calvillo, previously in the strawweights, now moves into the flyweight rankings. She is at number 2. Katlyn Chukagian was at number 2. She moved up. Jessica Ai moved down 3 spots to number 4. Joanne Calderwood stayed the same at number 3. And everyone else that was ranked moved down 1 spot. And Courtney Casey, who was ranked number 15, is now unranked. So those are your rankings updates. So moving along into the segment, welcome to the scene. So welcome to Jason D, BWC GSP GOAT, Eric Pryor, and Volodymyr Chaika. Welcome to our newest publicly named subscribers. Welcome to the scene, all of you. So, keeping things moving. This weekend, UFC Fight Night. Oh no, I'm sorry. Before we move into that, there is an event in China this weekend, W.A.R.S. Now, I don't know the exact matchups going on. However, I do know that Shi Ming and Miao Ding, who previously fought on the last WLF card, are now fighting again on this card against different opponents. I don't know who the opponents are or what weight class exactly. I believe when those two fought each other before, they fought at strawweight. Probably going to fight at strawweight again or somewhere around there. But those two are fighting this weekend at WLF. If I can find out the results, I'll report on them next week. So now, moving on into the UFC Fight Night, Blaze versus Volkov. 4 ladies fights. First up, at flyweight, Roxanne Modafferi taking on Lauren Murphy. The Happy Warrior, Modafferi coming in 24-16. Lucky Lauren Murphy coming in 12-4. Modafferi coming in off a win over Macy Barber via unanimous decision. Before that, lost a decision to Jennifer Maia in a rematch. Murphy coming in on 2 straight wins. First over Mara Romero Barella, and then over Andrea Lee in a very contentious split decision. Modafferi is the older fighter by a year, 37 to Murphy's 36. Murphy is slightly taller, 5 feet 8 inches, 173 centimeters, to Modafferi's 5'6", 168 centimeters. However, Modafferi has an ever so slight reach advantage, 69 inches, 175 centimeters, to Murphy's 68 inches, 173 centimeters. All right, I'm going to do a full preview on this fight, but Modafferi is my pick here. It's very hard to pick against Roxanne Modafferi anymore. It's getting very difficult. Next up, Courtney Casey making a quick turnaround, taking on Gillian Robertson at flyweight. Cast iron coming in 9-7. Savage Robertson coming in 7-4. Casey coming off a win over Mara Romero Barella just a month ago. Before that, had a decision loss to Cynthia Calvillo down at strawweight. Robertson coming off a TKO loss to Macy Barber 7 months ago. Before that, picked up a TKO win over Sarah Frota. Casey's the older fighter, 33 to Robertson's 25 years. Casey's going to be the taller fighter, 5 feet 7 inches, 170 centimeters, to Robertson's 5 feet 5, 165 centimeters. And Casey is also going to have a reach advantage, 67 inches, 170 centimeters, to Robertson's 63 inches, 160 centimeters. Did a full breakdown on this one, did a fight preview video. Please go check that out. The pick here is going to be Courtney Casey. Moving along, still on the prelims, but moving down to strawweight. Tisha, the Tiny Tornado Torres, taking on Brianna, the Bull Van Buren. Torres coming in 10-5, Van Buren coming in 9-2. Torres on a 4-fight losing streak against all top contenders. Van Buren coming in off a successful UFC debut over Olivia Hanata Souza almost a year ago. Before that, she was the winner of the Invicta Phoenix Series 1 event. Torres, the older fighter, 30 years to Van Buren's 26 years. Torres, for the first time in her career, is going to be the taller fighter. 5'1", 155 centimeters to Van Buren's 5 foot even, 152 centimeters. However, the reach is reversed. Van Buren has a 62-inch, 157 centimeter reach. Torres has a 61-inch, 155 centimeter reach. Another one, I did the preview on it. Please go check it out. I'll link it below, probably in a pinned comment. The pick here is going to be Brianna Van Buren. And then finally, on the main card at bantamweight, Raquel Rocky Pennington taking on Marion, the Belizean brawler Renaud. Pennington coming in 10-8, Renaud coming in 9-5-1. Pennington coming off a loss to Holly Holm by decision. Before that, she picked up a win over Irene Aldana via split decision. Renaud coming off of 2 straight losses. First to Kat Zingano almost 2 years ago, and then a little over a year ago, lost to Yana Kunitskaya via unanimous decision. Renaud's the older fighter, 43 years to Pennington's 31. Was that 12-year difference? Pretty big age difference there. Pennington slightly taller, 5 feet 7 inches, 170 centimeters, to Renaud's 5 feet 6 inches, 168 centimeters. However, the reach is reversed on this one as well. 68 inches, 173 centimeters for Renaud to Pennington's 67.5 inches, 171 centimeters. Really negligible difference there. So both of these two need a win pretty badly. Renaud is not getting any younger, but Pennington just seems to be stagnated. I'm going with Pennington here. And that's because Renaud seems to either, every time she fights and every loss of hers, she seems to grasp defeat from the jaws of victory, or she does well and then just stops doing well. Like she just takes a break for the rest of the fight. She's just very inconsistent. And that's why I'm going with Rocky Pennington. She's not the best fighter either, but she's usually at least consistent. Like if she's going to go out there and lose a fight, she's going to lose it the whole way. If she goes out and wins, she wins it the whole way. So the pick there is going to be Rocky Pennington. Okay, so that's it for this coming weekend's fights. So let's talk about Amanda, the Lioness Nunes, the double champion in the UFC, both bantamweight and featherweight. So she's talking about retiring. Recently talked to a Brazilian TV show, had an interview with them, said retirement was on her mind. Basically, she said she's achieved everything she's ever wanted. So today I want to talk about, what her options could be if she chooses to retire, and what the possible consequences for both her and the UFC could be if she retires. So first option in retirement, she could coach at ATT, and there are some pros and cons with this. For the pros, she gets to stay in an environment she already knows. Also, there's no overhead. If you run your own gym, you have a huge overhead. You got to take out loans. You got to build from nothing or rent a property. All kinds of responsibilities and overhead you got to worry about. By coaching at ATT, the infrastructure is already there. She just gets on salary or however they work it out, it's already taken care of. She just has to show up and coach, do her job. For cons, coaching the ATT, you're not your own boss if you choose to do that. A lot of people want to be their own boss. Also, there's a potential cap on earnings there because everything that she makes, it's basically she's getting a paycheck from ATT. So there's a potential cap on earnings there as well. Another thing she could do, second option, she could start her own gym. Pros for that. You start your own gym, guess what? You get to be your own boss. You set your own hours, you set your own salary, set your own price, whatever. You name it. It's all on you, really. You get to keep all the profits. Cons for that, though. Huge overhead. Like I said, if you're coaching at ATT, you get to avoid all that overhead. Bills, utilities, paying other instructors, rent, equipment costs, starting from scratch. Huge, huge overhead. Like I said, you have to start from scratch. So a lot of cons with that as well. And then a third option that I came up with is that she could possibly get a job being a spokesperson for a company. Something to do with athletics. Supplements, gym equipment, stuff along that line. Pros, it's relatively easy work. You're just going around touring, doing advertisements, stuff like that. It's not necessarily the hardest. And also, your reputation's already built, so just attach your name and UFC champion on something and people are going to buy it. For cons, well, you got to constantly worry about your public image. You got to keep up that image now. More than ever, you got to keep your image squeaky clean for that company because you're representing that company. Also, again, you're not your own boss in that situation. You got to answer to someone, which, like I said before, a lot of people, they like the idea of being their own boss, not having to answer to other people. So those are some of Nunes' options in retirement. So, consequences of retirement mostly falls on the UFC. First off, it kills what little there is of the featherweight division. Without Nunes, that division basically ends because there's only 4 other fighters. There's no point in trying to build it up. There's no point in keeping any of it alive. And then you got a couple fighters there that are back to Invicta, back to the regional circuit, or possibly getting picked up by Bellator. It also leaves the bantamweight division without a face. Without Nunes, the bantamweight division doesn't have a champion. It doesn't have a face. Right now, she is the face of the bantamweight division. She is the most important fighter in that division. She is the first fighter that people think of when they think of that division. Now, those are mostly consequences for the UFC. Big consequence for Amanda Nunes. If she truly retires and she takes herself out of the USADA testing pool, if she then decides that she wants to make a comeback, she's now got to go back into that testing pool for 6 months, which delays her retirement longer. So if you decide to retire and you go full out, it's not so easy to make an immediate comeback. If she semi-retires, doesn't take herself out of the testing pool, well, then she's got to keep dealing with USADA showing up to her door. But if she wants to make a comeback, she can make a comeback right away. So those are just some of the consequences if she were to retire right now. At the end of the day, do I want to see Amanda Nunes retire? No, I want to see her get a few more good wins in. Keep building that legacy. I mean, her legacy is already set, but she can make it even better. There is the possibility of a third Shevchenko fight. Finally shut up all the doubters. She's got a few potential contenders coming up in the bantamweight division. She could, fight Megan Anderson at featherweight, truly shut that division down, beating everybody in it. So she does have some options ahead should she choose not to retire. So hopefully she doesn't. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Amanda Nunes' possible retirement. I hope she doesn't. honestly. If she does, though, I'd be happy for her. If she were to retire, I would be happy for her. I mean, like she said, she's done everything she wants to do. So, at the end of the day, it's up to her. Only she can make that decision for herself. So those are my thoughts on that. Anyway, that's it for this week. So let me know your thoughts on just about anything and everything we just covered in the comments down below. Of course, likes are always appreciated. And hey, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to WMMA Now, the most complete women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.